Welcome to the Sleepy Island channel, your peaceful escape to the world's most beautiful destinations. Tonight, we're embarking on a gentle journey to the Maldives, a place where turquoise waters meet endless skies, and time seems to slow to the rhythm of the waves. Get comfortable, settle into your pillows, and let your breathing deepen. For the next 2 hours, I'll be your guide through this island paradise, sharing stories and secrets of the Maldives as you drift peacefully towards sleep. There's nothing you need to do, nowhere you need to be. Just relax and let the story carry you away. Imagine, if you will, a place scattered like precious gems across the Indian Ocean. The Maldives isn't just one island, but rather a magnificent collection of 26 natural atolls, creating what is truly one of the most unique geographic formations on Earth. These atolls stretch across approximately 90,000 square kilometers of ocean, though the actual land accounts for just 298 square kilometers. It's a nation more of water than Earth, where the sea embraces everything. Each atoll forms a ring of coral islands, creating protected lagoons of the most extraordinary shades of blue you could imagine. Picture turquoise blending into sapphire, light dancing on crystal clear water, creating patterns that shift with the sun's movement across the sky. Within these 26 atolls lie approximately 1,190 islands, though the exact number can vary as the ocean breathes and shifts with time. Of these islands, only about 200 are inhabited by local communities, while roughly 160 have been transformed into resort islands, each one a carefully preserved sanctuary of peace. The remaining islands, they remain untouched, pristine jewels of nature waiting in the sun. Now, here's something remarkable about the Maldives that sets it apart from nearly every other place on Earth. It holds the distinction of being the world's lowest-lying country. The highest natural point in the entire nation reaches just 2.4 meters above sea level. That's approximately 7.8 feet, about the height of a tall person standing on someone's shoulders. The average ground level? A mere 1.5 meters above the ocean. The Maldives exists in an intimate relationship with the sea, neither fully separate nor completely submerged, but existing in perfect balance between water and sky. This low elevation means that when you walk on a Maldivian beach, you're never far from the gentle whisper of waves. The islands feel like they're floating on the surface of the ocean itself, which in many ways, they are. The land beneath your feet is made of coral, compressed and accumulated over thousands of years, creating these delicate ribbons of earth. The name Maldives itself carries the poetry of its islands. While its exact origin is debated by historians, many believe it derives from the Sanskrit words molai meaning garland and deep meaning islands. Garland of islands. Picture a beautiful lei of flowers, each blossom perfect and unique, strung together across the vast blue of the Indian Ocean. That's the Maldives, a garland of islands adorning the earth. Others suggest the name comes from Mahal meaning palace, giving us Palace Islands, which seems equally fitting when you witness the pristine beauty of these atolls, each one as carefully crafted as any royal residence. The Maldivian people speak Divhi, a language as unique as the islands themselves. Divhi belongs to the Indo-Aryan language family and is written in a script called Thanana, which flows from right to left across the page. This script was developed in the 16th or 17th century and contains 24 letters. The language carries influences from Arabic, reflecting the island's position along ancient trade routes, as well as Hindi, Sinhalese, and even English words that have woven themselves into daily conversation. When you hear Dive spoken, it sounds like water flowing over stones, rhythmic and soothing, perfectly suited to island life. Now, let your mind drift to the capital city, Male, one of the world's most densely populated cities despite being so small. The entire city of Male occupies just 5.8 square kilometers, roughly 2.2 square miles, yet it's home to more than 200,000 people. Imagine the energy of this city, buildings rising in colorful blocks, narrow streets bustling with motorcycles and small cars, markets filled with fresh fish and tropical fruits. But even in this density, the ocean is never far. You can walk from one side of Male to the other in less than an hour, and everywhere you go, you catch glimpses of the sea between buildings, reminding you that you're on an island, surrounded by endless blue. Let these images settle in your mind. Crystal clear lagoons, coral islands floating on the horizon, the gentle rhythm of island life. As we continue our journey through the Maldives, let each fact carry you deeper into relaxation, like waves gently pulling you further into peaceful sleep. As you settle deeper into relaxation, let's journey back in time for a moment to understand how this island nation came to be what it is today. The Maldives gained its independence on July 26, 1965, when it became free from British protection. Before this date, the islands had maintained a unique status, managing their own internal affairs while Britain handled defense and foreign relations. But on that summer day in 1965, the Maldives emerged as a fully sovereign nation, ready to chart its own course across the Indian Ocean. 3 years later, in 1968, the country transformed from a sultanate into a republic, the form of government it maintains today. Imagine the pride and possibility those islanders must have felt, finally holding their destiny entirely in their own hands, just as they'd held the tides and trade routes for centuries before. The Maldives is unique in South Asia as it is 100% Muslim, with Islam serving as the official state religion. This Islamic identity has been woven into the fabric of Maldivian life since the 12th century, when the islands converted from Buddhism. The call to prayer echoes across the atolls 5 times a day, marking time not by clocks but by spiritual rhythm. The religion shapes everything from architecture, with beautiful mosques gracing even the smallest inhabited islands, to daily life, customs, and the warm hospitality the Maldivian people are known for. It's a place where faith and culture are inseparable, creating a society bound by shared values and traditions that have endured for nearly 1,000 years. Now, breathe deeply and imagine the climate of these islands. The Maldives enjoys a tropical monsoon climate, blessed with warm weather year-round. Temperatures remain delightfully consistent, hovering between 25 and 31 degrees Celsius. That's about 77 to 88 degrees Fahrenheit. The seasons here aren't measured by winter and summer, but rather by 2 monsoon periods. The dry northeast monsoon, called Iravi, runs from December to April, bringing clear skies, gentle breezes, and perfect conditions for swimming in those crystalline waters. Then comes the southwest monsoon, known as Hulhangu, from May to November, which brings more rain and wind, making the ocean a bit more spirited, the waves a little higher. But even in the wet season, there's beauty in the drama of tropical storms passing over the endless ocean. Rain falling on water, creating patterns that ripple outward into infinity. It might surprise you to learn that tourism in the Maldives is relatively young. The first resort opened its doors in 1972, transforming two uninhabited islands named Bandos and Karumba into holiday destinations. Before this, the Maldives was known primarily to sailors, traders, and intrepid travelers who stumbled upon its beauty. But those first visionaries saw potential in paradise. They imagined travelers from around the world coming to experience these untouched beaches, these unbelievably clear lagoons. And they were right. From those first two resorts, the industry blossomed slowly and carefully, with each resort typically occupying its own private island, ensuring that the natural beauty and tranquility that makes the Maldives special would never be lost to overdevelopment. Today, the Maldives welcomes visitors who seek not excitement and crowds, but rather peace, beauty, and connection with nature. Picture now the traditional boats that have sailed these waters for generations. They're called donnies, and they are as much a symbol of the Maldives as the palm trees and white sand beaches. These wooden vessels have a distinctive design, with a curved prow and stern, perfectly suited to navigating the shallow lagoons and deeper channels between atolls. Traditionally, donnies were built from coconut palm timber and sailed using lateen rigs, triangular sails that could catch the slightest breeze. Today, while most donnies have engines, they retain their elegant shape and remain the heartbeat of Maldivian life. Fishermen head out before dawn in their donnies. Local people travel between islands in them, and even many resorts use beautifully restored donnies to transport guests. The rhythmic sound of a donny cutting through calm water, the creak of wood, the gentle splash of the wake, it's the soundtrack of island life, unchanged for centuries. Now, let me share with you one of the most magical phenomena you might witness in the Maldives. Something so extraordinary it seems like a dream. On certain beaches, particularly on Vadhu Island, the waves glow with a brilliant blue light at night, as if stars have fallen from the sky into the ocean. This ethereal glow is created by bioluminescent phytoplankton, tiny marine organisms called dinoflagellates that emit light when disturbed by movement. When waves crash on the shore or someone walks through the shallow water, these microscopic creatures illuminate, creating trails of blue light that follow every motion. Imagine walking along the beach at night, each footstep sparking a glow, watching the waves paint the shore with liquid light. It's one of nature's most incredible gifts, a reminder that magic exists in the smallest forms of life, invisible by day, spectacular by night. The waters surrounding these islands are among the richest marine environments on Earth. The Maldives is home to over 2,000 species of fish, creating an underwater kaleidoscope of color and movement. Among the coral reefs, you'll find everything from tiny clownfish darting among anemones to massive whale sharks, the gentle giants of the ocean, gliding slowly through the blue. The reefs themselves are made up of over 200 species of coral, creating structures so intricate and colorful they rival any terrestrial garden. Manta rays glide gracefully through cleaning stations, sea turtles paddle peacefully through the lagoons, and dolphins play in the waves. The Maldives offers some of the world's best diving and snorkeling, not because people have created attractions, but because the ocean itself is the attraction, teeming with life, color, and wonder. As you drift now, becoming heavier, more relaxed, let me tell you about the traditional music that echoes across these islands. The most famous form is called Bodu Baru, which translates to big drum. It's an energetic performance, typically involving between 10 and 15 performers using 3 drums of different sizes, creating complex, layered rhythms that seem to pulse like a heartbeat. The tempo starts slowly, hypnotically, then gradually builds to a crescendo as dancers move in synchronized patterns, their movements inspired by African influences that arrived centuries ago through trade routes. The drums, made from hollowed coconut palm wood with goatskin stretched across them, produce deep, resonant sounds that carry across the water, uniting communities in celebration. Even now, Bodu Baru remains central to Maldivian celebrations, weddings, and festivals, connecting modern islanders to their ancestral past through rhythm and dance. Let the rhythm of those drums fade into the sound of waves. Let the image of glowing beaches drift through your mind like a pleasant dream. You're safe, comfortable, and peaceful. As we continue our journey through the Maldives, allow each fact to be like a gentle wave, washing over you, carrying you closer to the shore of sleep. Your breathing is slow and steady now, your body sinking deeper into comfort. Let's continue our peaceful journey through this island paradise. The cuisine of the Maldives tells a story of the ocean's generosity. Tuna is not just a food here, it's the heart of Maldivian cooking, appearing in nearly every traditional dish. For centuries, Maldivian fishermen have caught skipjack and yellowfin tuna using age-old sustainable methods, and these fish have sustained island communities through countless generations. One of the most beloved dishes is called Mars Huni, a breakfast staple made from finely shredded smoked tuna mixed with freshly grated coconut, onions, and chili, often eaten with roshi, a traditional flatbread. Imagine starting your day with this simple, flavorful meal, the smoky richness of the fish balanced by the sweet, subtle flavor of coconut. Nearly every traditional recipe incorporates coconut in some form: coconut milk for richness, grated coconut for texture, coconut oil for cooking. The palm trees that line every beach aren't just beautiful. They're essential to life itself, providing food, drink, shade, and sustenance in countless ways. Speaking of coconut palms, these elegant trees are so central to Maldivian life that they're sometimes called the tree of life. Every part of the coconut palm serves a purpose in traditional island culture. The coconuts provide food and fresh coconut water, nature's perfect refreshment. The husks produce koya fiber, which for centuries was woven into rope used in boat building and fishing. The palm fronds are woven into roof thatching for traditional homes, creating shelter that stays cool even under the tropical sun. The wood from the trunk builds houses and boats. Even the flower sap can be tapped to create a sweet toddy, or fermented into palm wine. When you walk beneath a coconut palm in the Maldives, you're standing beneath a tree that could meet nearly every basic human need: shelter, food, water, tools, all from a single, graceful plant swaying in the ocean breeze. Now, Let your mind drift to the currency that changes hands across these islands. The Maldivian rupiah has been the official currency since 1981, replacing the Maldivian rupee. The word rupiah comes from the Sanskrit word rupiah, meaning silver, linking this island nation to the ancient trade networks that once crisscrossed the Indian Ocean. Each rupiah is divided into 100 lari, and the currency features beautiful imagery celebrating Maldivian culture, traditional boats, important buildings, marine life, and scenes of island life. The exchange rate fluctuates, but it typically hovers around 15 rupiah to $1. In local markets, you might see vendors selling their fresh catch of the day, tropical fruits, or handcrafted goods, the colorful currency passing from hand to hand, each transaction a small thread in the fabric of daily island life. Let me tell you about the traditional fishing methods that have sustained these islands for over 1,000 years. Maldivian fishermen practice a technique called pole and line fishing, using individual handheld poles rather than nets. This method is remarkably sustainable, allowing fishermen to catch only the fish they need while leaving the juvenile fish to grow and the non-target species to swim free. The fishermen head out in their donnies before dawn, when the ocean is still dark and calm, and they scatter live bait fish on the water's surface to attract schools of tuna. When the tuna begin feeding in a frenzy, the fishermen cast their lines, each one connected to a barbless hook designed to release the fish quickly once brought aboard. It's a practice that has remained largely unchanged for centuries, a perfect example of living in harmony with the ocean rather than trying to conquer it. The fishermen know these waters intimately, reading the subtle signs of current, color, and bird activity that reveal where the fish are running. As you relax even more deeply, imagine the Maldivian flag waving gently in the tropical breeze. The flag is striking in its simplicity and rich in symbolism. It features a red field with a large green rectangle in the center, and within that green rectangle sits a white crescent moon. The red represents the boldness and sacrifice of the nation's heroes, the blood shed for independence and sovereignty. The green symbolizes peace, prosperity, and the lush palm trees that grace every island. The white crescent moon is a symbol of Islam, reflecting the nation's deep faith, but also represents progress and unity. When you see this flag flying above a government building in Male or fluttering from a donny's mast, you're seeing the pride and identity of an entire nation distilled into 3 colors and 1 elegant symbol. The population of the Maldives is relatively small for a nation, with approximately 520,000 people calling these islands home. What's remarkable is how this population is distributed across the archipelago. While more than 200 islands are inhabited, the population is concentrated in specific atolls, with nearly 1/3 of all Maldivians living in Male alone. Some inhabited islands have communities of just a few hundred people, creating tight-knit villages where everyone knows everyone, where children grow up swimming in the same lagoons their grandparents swam in, where traditions pass naturally from generation to generation. Life on these smaller islands moves at a different pace, slower, more connected to the rhythms of tide and season, prayer and harvest. The sense of community is profound. Neighbors are often extended family, and the ocean that surrounds each island creates both isolation and intimacy, a world complete unto itself. Now, let me share something that weighs on the hearts of Maldivian people. The coral reefs that create these islands and protect their shores are both resilient and vulnerable. The Maldives coral reefs have faced significant challenges from rising ocean temperatures, which cause a phenomenon called coral bleaching. When water temperatures rise even a few degrees above normal, corals expel the symbiotic algae that live within their tissues and give them color, leaving them pale and weakened. The Maldives experienced severe bleaching events, particularly in 1998 and 2016, when some areas lost up to 90% of their coral cover. But here's the hopeful part of this story. Maldivian reefs have shown remarkable powers of recovery. Scientists have observed coral regeneration in many areas, with new polyps settling and growing, colors returning, fish populations rebounding. The Maldives has become a global leader in marine conservation, establishing marine protected areas, coral restoration projects, and sustainable tourism practices. The fight to preserve these reefs continues, because Maldivians understand better than anyone that their island's very existence depends on the health of the coral beneath the waves. This concern for the reefs connects to something even more fundamental. The Maldives faces significant challenges from rising sea levels caused by climate change. As the world's lowest-lying nation, even a small rise in ocean levels poses an existential threat to these islands. Already, some islands experience increased flooding during high tides and storm surges. The government has taken this challenge seriously, becoming one of the most vocal advocates for climate action on the world stage. In 2009, the Maldivian cabinet even held an underwater meeting, sitting on the ocean floor in scuba gear, signing a declaration calling for global action on climate change, a powerful image that traveled around the world. The Maldives has committed to becoming carbon neutral, investing in renewable energy, particularly solar power, to reduce its carbon footprint. There's something profound in this small nation's determination to survive and thrive, to protect not just their own islands, but to stand as a voice for all low-lying nations and coastal communities facing similar threats. Let these thoughts settle gently. The resilience of coral, the determination of island people, the rhythm of sustainable fishing, the shade of coconut palms. All of these images blend together now, soft and dreamlike, as you drift deeper into peaceful rest. The Maldives continues to unfold before you, each fact a stepping stone leading you further into tranquility. Your body is completely relaxed now, your mind drifting peacefully like a boat on calm water. Let's continue exploring this beautiful island nation. Even time itself is unique in the Maldives. The country operates on its own time zone, called Maldives time, which is 5 hours ahead of Coordinated Universal Time, or UTC+5. This places the Maldives in a time zone shared by very few other places on Earth, creating a sense that these islands exist slightly apart from the rest of the world. When the sun rises over the eastern atolls, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, it's a moment that belongs uniquely to this place. Time moves differently here, not rushed by minutes and deadlines, but measured by the sun's arc across the sky, by the tide's advance and retreat, by the call to prayer echoing 5 times across the lagoons. Island time isn't just a phrase in the Maldives. It's a philosophy, a gentle reminder that some things cannot and should not be hurried. The traditional clothing of the Maldives reflects both the tropical climate and the island's Islamic culture. Women traditionally wear a dress called a libaise, a long, colorful garment often adorned with intricate embroidery and paired with a headscarf. The fabrics are usually light and flowing, perfect for staying cool in the warm, humid air. Men traditionally wear a sarong-like garment called a mundu or faili, wrapped around the waist, often paired with a light shirt. For formal occasions and prayers, men might wear a long white robe. While modern Western clothing is common now, especially in male and tourist areas, you'll still see traditional dress worn with pride during festivals, religious occasions, and on local islands where customs remain strong. The colors are often vibrant. Turquoise blues like the lagoons, sunset oranges, deep greens like the palm fronds, bringing the beauty of the natural world into everyday life. Let me take you back centuries now, to when the Maldives was famous for something very small but incredibly valuable. The islands were once the world's primary source of cowrie shells, specifically a species called Cypraea moneta, the money cowrie. These small, glossy shells, rarely larger than your thumbnail, were collected by the millions from Maldivian lagoons and exported across the Indian Ocean to India, Arabia, and all the way to Africa and even China. For centuries, these shells served as currency across vast regions of the world, their value stable and their form convenient. Imagine Maldivian women and children wading through shallow lagoons at low tide, gathering these precious shells by hand, stringing them together in long ropes to be counted, dried, and prepared for export. This trade made the Maldives wealthy and important in global commerce long before anyone imagined tourism. The shells were so abundant here that Maldivians could trade them for rice, fabric, and other necessities. In some African countries, cowrie shells remained legal currency well into the 20th century, all of them originating from these remote Indian Ocean islands. Now picture yourself standing before the most magnificent building in Male, the Islamic Center and its Grand Friday Mosque, called Masjid al-Sultan Mohammed Thakrufanu al-Awzam. Completed in 1984, this stunning mosque can accommodate over 5,000 worshippers and dominates the capital's skyline with its gleaming golden dome. The dome itself is truly remarkable, covered in lustrous gold-colored panels that catch the tropical sun and seem to glow from within. The mosque's walls are adorned with beautiful Arabic calligraphy and intricate wood carvings, crafted by Maldivian artisans using traditional techniques passed down through generations. The interior features exquisite carpets, carved wooden panels, and elegant chandeliers. The minaret rises tall and proud, visible from many points around Male, a beacon of faith and architectural beauty. When the call to prayer sounds from this mosque, it resonates across the capital, a melodic reminder that this small nation's identity is built on both its relationship with the ocean and its devotion to faith. Something that might surprise you about this small island nation is its remarkable commitment to education. The Maldives boasts one of the highest literacy rates in South Asia, with approximately 98% of the adult population able to read and write. This is an extraordinary achievement for a nation consisting of scattered islands where simply getting children to school once required boat journeys. The government has invested heavily in education, building schools even on small, remote islands, and providing free education to all Maldivian children. Education is compulsory up to the age of 16, and the curriculum includes not just traditional subjects but also lessons about marine conservation, sustainable fishing, and preserving Maldivian culture. Many young Maldivians go on to pursue higher education, either at the Maldives National University in Male or abroad, then return to contribute their knowledge to their home islands. This emphasis on learning has created a population that is well-informed, engaged, and ready to tackle the challenges facing their nation, from climate change to economic development. Let your mind wander now to the traditional homes that once dotted these islands, built entirely from natural materials found on and around the atolls. These homes were constructed with coral stone walls, harvested carefully from the reef during low tide, only taking what was needed, only from areas where it would regenerate. The coral blocks would be cut into rectangles and stacked to form sturdy walls that stayed naturally cool even in the midday heat. The roofs were thatched with dried palm fronds, woven together so tightly they could shed heavy monsoon rains. Inside, the floors might be covered with woven mats made from reeds or palm fiber, creating surfaces that were soft underfoot and easy to keep clean. These homes had few windows, designed to keep out the intense tropical sun, but they opened onto courtyards where families would gather in the evening, cooking over coconut husk fires, telling stories, mending fishing nets. While modern concrete homes are more common now, you can still find examples of traditional architecture on some local islands, beautiful reminders of how people lived in complete harmony with their environment, using only what nature provided. Despite being a nation of islands, the Maldives has a passionate love for football, what Americans call soccer. Football is the national sport, and you'll find small pitches on nearly every inhabited island, often just patches of sand with makeshift goals, where children and adults alike play from late afternoon into the evening when the heat becomes bearable. The national team, nicknamed the Red Snappers, competes in regional tournaments, and every match is followed with intense enthusiasm by Maldivians everywhere. On match days, you'll find people gathered around televisions and radios, in tea shops and homes, cheering every pass, every shot, every save. Local tournaments between islands create fierce but friendly rivalries. There's something wonderful about watching a football match played on a small island, surrounded by ocean on all sides, the ball occasionally rolling off into the sand, players' shouts mixing with the sound of waves, the setting sun painting everything in gold. The sport unites communities, gives young people something to strive for, and provides moments of pure joy and excitement. The Maldives has one of the youngest populations in the world, with a median age of around 30 years old. This means the islands are filled with energy, optimism, and the voices of children and young adults. Nearly 40% of the population is under 25 years of age. These young Maldivians are growing up with one foot in tradition and one in modernity. They learn to fish and sail donnies from their parents and grandparents, but they're also connected to the world through smartphones and the internet. They're concerned about climate change in very personal ways, knowing their homeland's existence depends on global action. They're passionate about preserving their culture while also engaging with contemporary art, music, and ideas. This youthful energy drives innovation in the tourism industry, marine conservation efforts, and cultural preservation projects. Walk through Male in the evening and you'll see groups of young people gathering at the waterfront, chatting, laughing, dreaming about the future. their lives intimately connected to this chain of islands, yet their minds reaching out to the wider world. Feel yourself sinking deeper now, like sinking into warm, crystal-clear water, weightless and peaceful. The images of the Maldives swirl gently around you. Golden domes catching sunlight, children playing football on sandy beaches, traditional homes cooled by coral walls, cowrie shells glittering in shallow lagoons. All of it blends together in a peaceful dream as you drift further into sleep. You're drifting so peacefully now, each breath slower and deeper than the last. Let's continue our tranquil journey through these remarkable islands. Here's something that makes the Maldives truly exceptional among island nations. There are no rivers, no streams, no natural freshwater lakes anywhere across the entire archipelago. Every drop of fresh water that sustains life here comes either from rain collected carefully in cisterns and tanks, or from the sea itself through desalination. For centuries, Maldivian communities relied entirely on rainwater, building elaborate systems of channels and storage tanks to capture the monsoon rains. Traditional homes had courtyards designed to funnel rainwater into underground cisterns, where it would stay cool and fresh for months. On some islands, communal wells tapped into freshwater lenses, pockets of rainwater that float atop the denser saltwater underground. Today, modern desalination plants convert seawater to drinking water, but the traditional practice of rainwater harvesting continues. There's something humbling about life on these islands, where nothing can be taken for granted, where every resource must be carefully managed, where the relationship between human and environment must be one of respect and balance. Let me tell you about the art of traditional navigation that Maldivian sailors mastered over countless generations. Long before GPS or even compasses were common, Maldivian fishermen and traders navigated across hundreds of miles of open ocean using only the stars, the sun, ocean currents, and their intimate knowledge of wind patterns. They could read the color of the water to know the depth beneath them, watch the flight patterns of seabirds to determine the location of distant islands, and feel subtle changes in the swell to understand approaching weather. The elder navigators kept their knowledge secret, passing it down only to chosen apprentices through years of patient teaching. They memorized the positions of stars at different times of year, knew which currents flowed where during each monsoon, understood how waves refracted around hidden reefs. This accumulated wisdom allowed them to trade with Sri Lanka, India, and Arabia, crossing vast stretches of ocean with confidence, returning home guided by the same celestial map their ancestors had used for 1,000 years. Though modern technology has replaced these ancient methods, a few elders still remember, still carry this knowledge like precious cargo. As your mind drifts further into peaceful rest, imagine the artisans of the Maldives working on a traditional craft called Lajahan, the art of lacquerwork. This intricate technique has been practiced for centuries, creating beautiful wooden objects decorated with vibrant colors and delicate patterns. Artisans start with wooden items, boxes, vases, containers, turned on manual lathes, then apply layers of colored lacquer in reds, yellows, greens, and blacks. While the lacquer is still soft, they etch elaborate designs using pointed tools, revealing the layers of color beneath in intricate patterns of flowers, geometric shapes, and traditional motifs. Each piece requires incredible patience and skill, the artisan's hands steady and sure, creating objects that are both functional and beautiful. These lacquered items were traditionally used to store valuables, cosmetics, and betel leaves, but today they're treasured as art pieces, each one unique, carrying the mark of the individual craftsperson who created it. The tradition is fading as fewer young people learn the skill, making each remaining piece even more precious, a connection to centuries of artistic tradition. Now let your thoughts drift to the seasonal changes in marine life that make the waters around the Maldives so extraordinary throughout the year. From November to April, the manta rays gather in large numbers at specific sites, particularly in the western atolls, where they come to feed on plankton and be cleaned by small fish that remove parasites from their skin. These graceful creatures, some with wingspans of over 20 feet, glide through the water like underwater birds, their movements elegant and effortless. From May to November, whale sharks, the largest fish in the ocean, migrate through Maldivian waters, their massive bodies spotted with white dots creating patterns as unique as fingerprints. Despite their enormous size, reaching up to 40 feet in length, these gentle giants feed only on plankton, filtering thousands of gallons of water through their gills. Throughout the year, 5 different species of sea turtles visit Maldivian waters to feed and nest, hauling themselves onto beaches at night to lay their eggs in the sand. Dolphins are year-round residents, often seen playing in the bow waves of boats, leaping joyfully through the air. This rotating cast of marine life means the ocean is always offering something new, always alive with wonder. Deep in the interior of inhabited islands, you might find small gardens where Maldivians practice traditional medicine using local plants and herbs. For generations, before modern medicine became widely available, island communities relied on healers called hakim, who understood the medicinal properties of plants that grew naturally on the atolls. They used leaves from the moringa tree to treat inflammation, neem for skin conditions, and various island herbs for digestive issues and fevers. The knowledge of which plants to use, how to prepare them, and in what combinations was passed down through families, often from grandmother to granddaughter. Coconut oil served countless purposes, treating minor wounds, moisturizing skin burned by sun and salt, even as a base for herbal preparations. While modern clinics and hospitals serve the population today, some of this traditional knowledge persists, particularly on remote islands, where the old ways blend naturally with new medical understanding, creating a healthcare approach that honors both tradition and science. Let me share with you the tradition of the Vada, the fishing songs that Maldivian fishermen have sung for centuries. These songs served multiple purposes on the long hours at sea. They helped coordinate the timing of casting lines when the tuna were feeding, creating rhythm for the hard work of pulling in the catch. They passed the time during slow periods, telling stories of legendary catches, brave sailors, and the generous sea. They kept spirits high when the fishing was poor and exhaustion set in. The melodies are haunting and beautiful, with call and response patterns where one fisherman leads and others answer, their voices carrying across the water. Each fishing community had its own variations, its own favorite verses, but all shared common themes: gratitude for the ocean's bounty, respect for its power, hope for a successful return. Though modern fishing boats with engines and GPS have changed many aspects of the practice, you can still sometimes hear these songs, particularly from older fishermen, the ancient melodies floating across the lagoons at dawn or dusk, connecting the present to an unbroken chain of seafarers stretching back through time. Despite the abundance of fish, the Maldives imports the majority of its food from other countries. The Coral Islands' sandy soil is poor for agriculture, and the limited land area means large-scale farming is simply not possible. Almost all rice, the staple grain, is imported, along with flour, vegetables, fruits, and most other food items. Only a few things grow easily here: coconuts, breadfruit, papaya, and some tropical vegetables in carefully tended gardens. This dependence on imports makes the Maldives vulnerable to supply chain disruptions and global price fluctuations. It also makes the traditional fishing practices even more vital. Fish is one of the few abundant local food sources, sustaining communities just as it has for millennia. In recent years, there's been increased interest in developing sustainable local agriculture, using hydroponic systems and innovative growing techniques to produce fresh vegetables even in the challenging island environment. Small greenhouses appear on some islands, young farmers experimenting with new methods, trying to increase food security while respecting the limited space and resources available. The Maldives has established an impressive network of marine protected areas, recognizing that preserving the ocean is preserving their future. Approximately 42 marine protected areas exist throughout the archipelago, where fishing is restricted or prohibited, development is carefully controlled, and natural ecosystems are allowed to flourish. These protected zones serve as nurseries for fish populations, sanctuaries for endangered species like sea turtles and sharks, and living laboratories where scientists study coral regeneration and marine biodiversity. Some of these protected areas have strict rules: no anchoring, no collecting of shells or coral, no fishing of any kind. Others allow limited traditional fishing while prohibiting more destructive methods. The results have been remarkable. Fish populations increase, coral recovers, and rare species return. This network of protection shows the Maldives' commitment to conservation, understanding that a healthy ocean isn't just an environmental goal but an economic and cultural necessity, the very foundation upon which this entire nation rests. Let all these images blend together now. Fishermen singing ancient songs on calm seas, artisans' hands creating delicate lacquerwork, manta rays gliding through crystal water, rainwater collecting in traditional cisterns. Everything becomes softer, dreamier, as you sink even deeper into peaceful, restorative sleep. The Maldives surrounds you like a gentle embrace, warm and safe and infinitely peaceful. Your eyelids are so heavy now, your entire body at complete rest. Let's drift together through a few more gentle stories of these beautiful islands. The national flower of the Maldives is the pink rose, known locally as Fiathoshi hitha, which means the flower from the Fiathoshi tree. This delicate pink blossom holds deep significance in Maldivian culture, symbolizing love, beauty, and the gentle spirit of the islands. The flowers bloom in soft shades of pink, from pale blush to deeper rose, and their sweet fragrance drifts on the ocean breeze. Traditionally, these flowers were used in celebrations and ceremonies, adorning homes during festivals and offered as gifts. Young women might tuck them into their hair. The pink petals a beautiful contrast against dark locks. In the evening, when the heat of the day finally breaks and families gather in their courtyards, the scent of these roses mingles with salt air and cooking spices, creating a perfume that is uniquely Maldivian. Though simple compared to more exotic tropical flowers, the pink rose represents home, tradition, and the understated elegance that defines these islands. Let me tell you about a traditional craft that has been practiced by Maldivian women for centuries. The weaving of thundu kuna, beautiful mats made from reeds. These aren't ordinary mats, but intricate works of art, woven in geometric patterns using natural fibers that have been carefully prepared, dried, and sometimes dyed using plant materials. The reeds come from wetland plants, harvested at just the right time, split into thin strips, and dried in the sun until they reach the perfect flexibility. The weaver sits cross-legged, her fingers moving with practiced rhythm, under over, the pattern emerging gradually over hours and days of patient work. The finished mats are used for sitting, for prayer, for covering floors, each one unique in its pattern and color combinations. Traditionally, a finely woven thundu kuna was a prized possession, part of a bride's dowry, a treasure passed from mother to daughter. The craft requires such skill and time that fewer women practice it today, but on some islands, you can still find elderly women weaving, their hands remembering patterns their grandmothers taught them, creating beauty from simple reeds and endless patience. Now, as you sink deeper into relaxation, let me share something about the rhythm of the Maldivian week. Friday is the most important day, the Islamic day of congregational prayer, and it serves as the weekly holiday throughout the country. On Friday mornings, the pace of life slows even further than usual. Men dress in their best clothes and head to the mosque for the special Friday prayer, where the imam delivers a sermon and the community gathers in worship. Shops close, government offices are quiet, and families spend time together. The day has a peaceful, contemplative quality, with many people visiting relatives, sharing meals, or simply resting. Children play in the streets or on the beach, their laughter mixing with the sound of the sea. Saturday begins the work week, but Friday remains sacred, a day set apart, a regular reminder to pause, reflect, and give thanks. This weekly rhythm has shaped Maldivian life for nearly 1,000 years, creating a pattern as reliable as the tides, as comforting as the sunrise. Let your mind travel back over 1,000 years now, to a time when the Maldives practiced a different faith. Before Islam arrived in the 12th century, the islands were predominantly Buddhist, with monasteries and stupas dotting the atolls. Archaeological excavations have uncovered Buddhist temples, coral stone sculptures of Buddha, and evidence of a rich Buddhist culture that flourished here for centuries. The conversion to Islam occurred in 1153 AD, when a visiting scholar convinced the ruling sultan to embrace the new faith. The story, as told in Maldivian tradition, speaks of this scholar's ability to defeat a sea demon that had been terrorizing the islands, reading verses from the Quran until the demon fled. Whether myth or history, the conversion was complete and peaceful, the islands embracing Islam fully while some Buddhist artistic influences remained visible in traditional crafts and decorative patterns. Today, archaeological sites preserve these pre-Islamic roots, reminders that even this deeply Islamic nation has layers of history, cultures that rose and transformed, leaving their marks in stone and story. Picture now a traditional boat-building yard on a local island, where master craftsmen still construct donis using techniques passed down through countless generations. The process begins with selecting the right wood, traditionally coconut palm, though sometimes other tropical hardwoods brought from elsewhere. The builder works largely without formal plans, carrying the design in their mind and hands, knowledge absorbed through years of apprenticeship. The keel is laid first, then ribs are shaped and fitted, each piece carved and smoothed by hand. The planks are attached using wooden dowels and coir rope, creating a flexible hull that moves with the waves rather than fighting them. The distinctive curved prow takes shape gradually, elegant and purposeful, designed to cut through waves efficiently. The entire process might take months, the builder working patiently in the shade, the smell of fresh wood shavings and the sound of tools shaping timber creating a rhythmic soundtrack. When complete, the Donny is blessed and launched, another vessel to join the thousands that have served Maldivian fishermen, traders, and travelers across the centuries. Here's something that shows the Maldives' commitment to protecting its fragile environment. In the 1990s, the government enacted a complete ban on coral mining from the reefs. For decades, coral had been harvested for construction, the ancient calcium carbonate structures cut into blocks for building. It was readily available, naturally strong, and stayed cool in the tropical heat. But the environmental cost was becoming clear. Reefs were being damaged, marine habitats destroyed, and the natural barriers that protected islands from waves were being weakened. The ban was controversial at first, as it meant finding alternative building materials, often more expensive imported concrete and cement blocks. But the decision has proven wise. Protected reefs have regenerated, fish populations have recovered in many areas, and the natural coastal protection the reefs provide has been preserved. It's an example of difficult but necessary choices, of prioritizing long-term survival over short-term convenience, of understanding that the reefs are not just construction material but living ecosystems upon which everything else depends. As night falls across the atolls, an old tradition continues on many islands. Night fishing for reef fish using simple hand lines and lanterns. Fishermen wade into the shallow lagoons after dark, carrying lanterns that attract small fish, which in turn attract the larger fish they're hoping to catch. The lantern light creates a circle of gold on the dark water, and within that circle, the water comes alive with movement. Small silver fish darting and swirling, larger shadows moving beneath. The fisherman stands patient and still, feeling for the gentle tug on the line that means a fish has taken the bait. It's a quiet, meditative practice, the darkness broken only by scattered lanterns across the lagoon. The fishermen standing like statues in the shallow water, the stars brilliant overhead. The catch is usually modest, a few fish for tomorrow's meals, but the practice connects modern fishermen to their ancestors, the same techniques, the same patience, the same gratitude when the line grows heavy and a fish is brought carefully to hand. Let me tell you about a distinctive aspect of Maldivian food culture, the tradition of short eats, small savory snacks that are essential to daily life. These bite-sized treats appear everywhere, in tea shops, at roadside stands, during family gatherings, and especially in the late afternoon when people need a little energy before the evening. Some popular short eats include gullah, small pastry balls filled with smoked tuna, coconut, and spices, fried until golden and crispy on the outside, soft inside. There are bhajia, triangular pastries filled with fish or vegetables, similar to samosas but with distinctly Maldivian flavors. Kuli borkiha, spicy fish cakes that pack incredible flavor into a small package. Kimia, fish rolls wrapped in thin pastry and deep fried. These short eats are often enjoyed with sweet, milky tea, creating a perfect balance of savory and sweet, spicy and soothing. The tradition of sharing these snacks brings people together, neighbors gathering at tea shops to discuss the day, friends meeting over plates of assorted short eats, the simple act of eating becoming an opportunity for connection and community. Feel yourself floating now, weightless as a donny on calm water. The images drift through your mind like clouds, pink roses perfuming the evening air, skilled hands weaving reeds into patterns, lantern light on dark lagoons. All of it soft and distant now, fading into peaceful dreams as sleep embraces you completely. You are safe, comfortable, and deeply, deeply relaxed. You're drifting in that perfect space between waking and sleeping now, so peaceful, so calm. Let's continue our gentle exploration of these island traditions. There's a social custom in the Maldives that has been practiced for centuries, a ritual that brings people together and marks moments of hospitality and friendship, the chewing of betel leaves. This practice, called pho, involves wrapping pieces of areca nut, a bit of lime paste, and sometimes cloves or other spices inside a fresh betel leaf, creating a small packet that's placed in the mouth and chewed slowly. The combination creates a mildly stimulating effect and turns the saliva a distinctive red color. Traditionally, offering betel to a guest was a sign of welcome and respect, and elders would spend their evenings sitting together, chewing betel and conversing about the day, about family, about island news. Elaborately decorated boxes made of silver or lacquered would hold the betel supplies, and these containers were often family heirlooms, passed down through generations. While the practice has declined among younger Maldivians, you can still see older people, particularly on local islands, preparing their betel with practiced hands, the ritual as much about the social connection and the rhythm of preparation as the betel itself. For decades, tourism in the Maldives meant luxury resorts on private islands, beautiful but isolated from local Maldivian life and culture. But in 2010, the government made a significant change, allowing guest houses to open on inhabited local islands for the first time. This transformed tourism in the Maldives, creating opportunities for visitors to experience authentic island life, staying in family-run guest houses, eating meals prepared by Maldivian cooks using traditional recipes, walking through villages, meeting local people, and seeing how communities actually live beyond the resort experience. For Maldivians, it created new income opportunities, allowing small business owners, families, and young entrepreneurs to participate in the tourism economy without needing the massive capital required for a resort. Today, these local island guest houses offer a completely different experience, more modest, more real, more connected to the culture and daily rhythms of island life. Visitors can learn to cook traditional dishes, go fishing with local fishermen, or simply sit in a tea shop and watch island life unfold. It's a beautiful example of tourism that enriches both visitor and host, creating understanding and economic opportunity while preserving authenticity. Let your mind drift now to a sight you'll see on nearly every inhabited island: traditional wooden swings called joali. These aren't playground equipment but beautifully crafted structures, often quite large, made from strong wood and suspended by ropes or chains. The joali typically has a broad wooden seat where several people can sit together, swaying gently back and forth in the evening breeze. You'll find them under the shade of breadfruit trees, near beaches, in public gathering areas. As the heat of the day fades and the sun lowers toward the horizon, families and friends gather at the joali, pushing off gently with their feet, swaying back and forth while they talk, laugh, and watch the changing colors of the sky. Children take turns, seeing who can swing highest, their joy infectious. Young couples might sit together, the gentle motion creating a sense of intimacy and peace. The joali represents something essential about Maldivian culture: the importance of community, of simple pleasures, of taking time to just be together, moving gently with others beneath the palms as the ocean whispers nearby. The Maldives has a unique administrative system that divides the nation into 20 administrative atolls, though geographically there are 26 natural atolls. Each administrative atoll has an elected chief called an atoll councillor, who oversees local governance and acts as a bridge between island communities and the central government in Male. Below this level, each inhabited island has its own island council, making decisions about local matters, maintaining infrastructure, organizing community events, managing resources. This system recognizes both the unity and the diversity of the nation. All Maldivians share a common identity, but each atoll, each island, has its own character, its own needs, its own traditions. The atoll chiefs understand their communities intimately, knowing which islands need new water systems, where schools need repair, which fishing communities are struggling. It's governance that works on a human scale, where leaders are neighbors, where democracy feels personal and accessible, where decisions are made by people who will live with their consequences because they're not distant politicians but members of the same community. Weddings in the Maldives are joyous occasions that blend Islamic traditions with local customs, creating celebrations that last for days and involve entire communities. The actual marriage ceremony, called the nikah, is a simple religious ceremony performed by a religious official, where the bride and groom, with witnesses present, formally enter into marriage according to Islamic law. But surrounding this brief ceremony are elaborate celebrations. The bride's hands and feet are decorated with intricate henna designs in patterns passed down through generations, the dark stain creating temporary lace-like artwork on her skin. There are pre-wedding ceremonies where women gather to sing traditional songs and dance the bandiya jahan, swaying gracefully in coordinated movements. The groom's family presents gifts to the bride's family, and elaborate meals are prepared and shared with the entire community. No one is turned away, everyone is welcome to celebrate. Traditional musicians play the bodu baru drums, their rhythms building from slow and hypnotic to fast and jubilant. The celebrations continue for days, binding two families together, but also reinforcing the bonds of the wider community, everyone participating in the joy, everyone invested in the success of this new union. As you relax even more deeply, let me tell you about the creatures that fill the twilight sky across the Maldives. Fruit bats, also called flying foxes. These large bats, with wingspans that can reach nearly a meter, are a common sight as day turns to dusk. They roost during the day in large trees, hanging upside down in clusters, their leathery wings wrapped around their bodies like cloaks. As the sun begins to set, they wake, stretching their wings, and take flight in search of fruit. Mangoes, bananas, breadfruit, whatever is ripe and available. They're remarkable flyers, graceful and purposeful, navigating through the gathering darkness with precision. Despite their somewhat fearsome appearance and their association with bats in general, fruit bats are harmless to humans, feeding only on fruit and nectar. They play a vital role in the ecosystem, pollinating flowers and dispersing seeds across the islands. On some islands, you can sit outside as evening falls and watch hundreds of them flying overhead in long streams, heading from their roosting sites to feeding areas, their silhouettes crossing the dimming sky in a daily migration that has occurred for millennia. Throughout Maldivian history, storytelling has been an essential part of culture, with tales passed orally from generation to generation around evening fires and during long fishing voyages. These stories feature clever heroes, supernatural beings called Ranamari or sea demons, princesses and sultans, moral lessons wrapped in entertaining narratives. One popular type of story features Bojuj, giants who lived long ago and shaped the islands. Children would gather in the evenings, sitting cross-legged on woven mats, listening wide-eyed as elders spun tales of adventure and magic. The storytellers knew how to pace their narratives, when to pause for effect, when to lower their voice to create suspense, when to suddenly raise it for surprise. These stories taught children about bravery, kindness, wisdom, and the consequences of greed or foolishness. They explained natural phenomena, why the ocean is salty, why certain stars appear in certain seasons, why the coconut has 3 eyes. Though television and digital entertainment have changed evening routines, the tradition of storytelling persists, particularly on smaller islands, grandparents still holding audiences captive with tales that connect the present to a past rich with wonder and wisdom. There's a beautiful tradition in Maldivian culture of giving children names connected to the ocean, reflecting the central role the sea plays in every aspect of life. Names like Rayyan, which can mean luxuriant but evokes the richness of the sea, Ashaf, a common name that connects to life and prosperity the ocean provides, or Ahmed, meaning highly praised, like the ocean itself. Many traditional names incorporate concepts of water, waves, islands, or marine life, binding each person's identity to their maritime heritage from birth. When you call a child's name in the Maldives, you're often invoking the sea, acknowledging that they are children of the ocean, that their destiny and the oceans are intertwined. This naming tradition is more than just custom. It's a constant reminder of who Maldivians are, what sustains them, what surrounds them. From the moment a child is named, they carry the ocean with them, its rhythm in their name, its presence in their identity, connecting them to every generation that came before and anchoring them in their island home. Let everything soften now, the sound of fruit bats' wings in the twilight, elders telling stories by lamplight, the gentle sway of the Joali under palm trees, names that carry the ocean's rhythm. All of these images blur together, peaceful and distant, as you drift deeper into sleep's embrace. The Maldives cradles you in its stories, its traditions, its timeless connection between people and sea. Rest now, just rest. You're so deeply relaxed now. You're breathing slow and rhythmic like the tide. Let's drift together through a few more gentle glimpses of island life. Before modern weather forecasting, Maldivian fishermen and farmers developed an incredibly sophisticated understanding of weather patterns, reading subtle signs in nature to predict the coming monsoons and daily weather changes. They watched the behavior of seabirds. When terns and frigate birds flew in certain patterns or at unusual times, it signaled storms approaching. They observed the color and texture of clouds, knowing that certain formations meant rain within hours, while others meant clear sailing. They felt changes in wind direction against their skin, understanding that shifts from northeast to southwest meant the monsoon was changing. They noticed how the ocean swells changed days before weather patterns shifted. Elder fishermen could predict with remarkable accuracy when the monsoons would arrive each year, watching for the blooming of certain flowers on land and the arrival of specific fish species in the lagoons. This knowledge wasn't written down but held in memory, passed from father to son, from elder to apprentice, accumulated over centuries of careful observation. Even today, with weather apps and satellite forecasts readily available, some old fishermen still trust their traditional knowledge, reading the sky and sea with eyes that hold generations of wisdom. Children in the Maldives have played traditional games for centuries, games that require little equipment but endless imagination and energy. One beloved game is Bala, a ball game played on the beach where teams try to keep a woven ball in the air using only their feet, knees, and heads, never letting it touch the ground. The ball itself is traditionally made from woven palm fronds, light enough to float on the breeze but sturdy enough to withstand enthusiastic play. Another popular game is Olhugajuburia, a form of tag played in the shallow lagoon water, where one child is it and must catch others while everyone splashes and dives and tries to escape. There's Kashikeo, a game involving small stones or shells arranged in patterns, where players take turns trying to collect them according to complex rules, testing memory and strategy. These games cost nothing, require no manufactured toys, and connect modern children to the same simple joys their grandparents knew. Running, laughing, competing, cooperating, all under the tropical sun with the ocean as their playground. When a new donny is completed, before it ever touches the water, a traditional blessing ceremony takes place. The boat builder and the owner gather with an imam or religious elder, who recites verses from the Quran over the vessel, asking for Allah's protection for all who will sail in her. The boat is often decorated with intricate patterns painted in bright colors, blues, greens, reds, along the prow and stern, traditional designs that serve both as decoration and as symbols of good fortune. Sometimes the owner gives the boat a name, often something poetic or meaningful: ocean blessing, swift wave, provider, painted carefully on the hull. A coconut might be broken against the boat's side, the milk offering a blessing, the break symbolizing the beginning of a new journey. Only after these rituals, these acknowledgments of the sea's power and pleas for safety, is the Doni launched into the water with prayers and celebration. This ceremony recognizes that every boat is more than wood and rope. It's a vessel that will carry lives, livelihoods, and hopes across unpredictable waters, and it deserves to begin its service with proper respect and blessing. The names of islands throughout the Maldives tell stories, carrying meanings that reflect geography, history, or natural features. Many island names end in du or du, which simply means island, like Marfushadu or Hulhudhu. Some islands are named for their shape or size. Hura means curving or bent, describing an island's outline, while Fusha means island with abundant vegetation. Kunar refers to corner or angle, describing how an island sits in relation to its reef. Others are named for what they contain. Digaru means big island. Kudara means small island. Some carry more poetic names. Rangali means golden, perhaps referring to beaches that glow at sunset. Mafushi means big island. Vilingili means beautiful island. Historical events sometimes gave islands their names, commemorating battles, notable visitors, or important events now lost to time but preserved in the place name. When Maldivians say an island's name, they're speaking a language of place, each name a small poem describing not just location but character, a linguistic map of their scattered nation. Throughout history, Maldivian women have been central to the processing and preservation of fish, particularly in creating jicama's, Maldives dried tuna, which has been a staple food and valuable trade commodity for centuries. After the men returned from fishing trips with fresh tuna, the women took over, a process requiring skill, timing, and hard work. They cleaned the fish, cut them into specific pieces, then boiled them in large pots of seawater. Once boiled, the fish pieces were carefully arranged on large drying racks under the hot sun. 4 days, the women turned the fish, ensuring even drying, protecting them from rain, keeping birds away. The dried fish, hard as wood and preserved for months without refrigeration, became a protein source that could sustain families during lean times and be traded for rice, fabric, and other necessities. The women's expertise in fish processing was as valuable as the men's fishing skills. Families survived not just on catching fish but on preserving it properly. This division of labor wasn't about inequality but about complementary skills, each gender contributing essential knowledge to the family's survival and prosperity. Traditional Maldivian jewelry, particularly pieces worn by women, carries both beauty and cultural significance. Silver was the preferred metal, often worked into intricate designs. One distinctive piece is the Libea's kun, ornate silver belts worn over traditional dresses, featuring elaborate engravings and sometimes small bells that create gentle sounds with movement. Earrings called Fana Koali were large and decorative, often featuring filigree work, delicate silver threads woven into lace-like patterns. Necklaces incorporated coral, which was abundant and considered protective, along with silver pendants bearing religious inscriptions or geometric designs. Married women traditionally wore toe rings as a symbol of their status, simple bands of silver worn with pride. These jewelry pieces were often part of a bride's dowry, treasures passed from mother to daughter, gaining value not just from their material worth but from the generations of women who wore them. A woman's jewelry box held not just adornment but family history, each piece carrying stories of weddings, celebrations, and the women who wore them before. Here's something that showcases Maldivian ingenuity and their intimate relationship with the sea. The practice of building temporary shelters called holai on uninhabited islands or even on sandbanks that emerge during low tide. Fishermen on extended fishing trips would construct these simple structures from palm fronds and driftwood, creating temporary homes where they could rest, cook their catch, and shelter from sun or sudden rain. On sandbanks, those magical strips of white sand that appear and disappear with the tides, families sometimes build temporary pavilions for special occasions, celebrations on these ephemeral islands that exist for just a few hours before the ocean reclaims them. The structures are intentionally impermanent, respecting the temporary nature of the land itself, built with the understanding that the sea gives and the sea takes away. These temporary homes on temporary islands represent something profound about Maldivian culture: an acceptance of impermanence, a flexibility in the face of nature's rhythms, an ability to create home and comfort even in the most transient circumstances. Before clocks and watches became common, Maldivians measured time using the sun's position and the calls to prayer that punctuated each day. The day began with Fajr, the dawn prayer, when the eastern sky first showed light but before the sun appeared. Morning activities, fishing, preparing food, tending gardens, filled the time until Dia, the midday prayer, when the sun reached its highest point and shadows grew shortest. The afternoon prayer, As, came when shadows lengthened again, signaling time to return from the day's work. Maghrib prayer occurred at sunset, that magical moment when the sky blazed with color before darkness fell. Finally, Isha prayer, about 90 minutes after sunset, marked the beginning of evening rest and family time. This prayer-based timekeeping created a rhythm that was both spiritual and practical, organizing the day not by hours and minutes but by light, shadow, and devotion. Even today, though everyone has phones and watches, many Maldivians still think of time in these terms: after Asr prayer, before Maghrib, following Fajr, the ancient rhythms still beating beneath modern schedules. Let these final images settle like sand drifting to the ocean floor. Children playing with palm frond balls on sunny beaches, silver jewelry passed from grandmother to granddaughter, temporary shelters on disappearing sandbanks, the sun marking time across the sky. Everything is becoming softer, more distant, fading into peaceful dreams. You're cradled by the rhythm of island life, the timeless patterns of sun and tide, prayer and rest. So peaceful now, so very peaceful. You're floating in that deep, peaceful space now, barely aware of anything but comfort and calm. Let's drift through a few more gentle stories together. In Maldivian waters, there exists a creature so perfectly adapted to reef life that it has become a symbol of the island's marine richness: the butterfly fish. Over 20 different species of these beautiful fish inhabit the coral reefs surrounding the atolls, their bodies compressed and disc-shaped, painted in the most extraordinary patterns of yellow, black, white, and orange. They move through the coral gardens in pairs, mated for life, always swimming together in perfect synchronization. Maldivian children grow up seeing these fish in every lagoon, their bright colors flashing through crystal water. The butterfly fish have long, thin snouts perfectly designed for reaching into coral crevices to find small invertebrates to eat. They're delicate creatures, sensitive to water quality and reef health, so their presence indicates a thriving ecosystem. When you snorkel in a Maldivian lagoon and see butterfly fish dancing through the coral formations, their yellow bodies streaked with black, or their white bodies dotted with spots, you're witnessing a healthy reef, a functioning ecosystem, life continuing as it has for millennia. The concept of private ownership of beaches doesn't exist in traditional Maldivian culture. All beaches, even those fronting resort islands, are considered public space up to the high tide line, accessible to anyone. This reflects a deep cultural understanding that the ocean and its edges belong to everyone, that no one can truly own the sea or the sand where ocean meets land. While resorts may occupy entire islands, the beaches themselves, those strips of sand between vegetation and water, are technically public space, though in practice resort guests have exclusive access. On local islands, beaches are shared communal spaces where everyone has equal access. Children play there, fishermen mend nets there, families gather for picnics, young people meet to talk as the sun sets. The beach belongs to everyone and no one, just as the ocean does. This cultural understanding that the shore is common ground, not private property, reflects a deeper philosophy that the gifts of nature, the sea and sand and sun, belong to all, that no one can truly own the meeting place between land and water, that some things must remain shared and accessible to everyone. Now picture the traditional kitchen of a Maldivian home, particularly on the smaller local islands. It's often a separate structure from the main house, called a falu-ge, literally meaning house with fire. This separation served practical purposes. It kept cooking heat and smoke away from sleeping areas in the tropical climate, and it reduced fire danger to the main dwelling. The kitchen has an open hearth where women cook over fires fueled by coconut husks and wood, the smoke drifting up and out through gaps in the thatched roof. Large clay pots hold water, smaller pots hang from wooden beams. Woven palm baskets contain rice, dried fish, spices. Everything has its place, accumulated and arranged over years. The cooking itself is often done over wood fires, using coconut husks as fuel, giving the food a subtle smoky flavor. Women gather here not just to cook but to talk, to share news and advice, to teach younger girls the proper way to prepare traditional dishes. The kitchen is the heart of the home, where sustenance and community meet, where recipes and stories are passed down, where the smells of curry, coconut, and fresh fish blend into the comfort of home. Let me tell you about the traditional fishing method for catching octopus, a delicacy in Maldivian cuisine. Fishermen use a simple but ingenious tool called a fan de par, essentially a lure made from coconut shells tied together with a stone weight. During low tide, fishermen wade through the shallow lagoon waters, dragging the fan de par along the sandy bottom. When an octopus is spotted hiding in the coral or rocks, the fisherman presents the coconut shell lure near the creature. Octopuses, being naturally curious and intelligent, often grasp the coconut shells, mistaking them for a safe hiding place. Once the octopus wraps its tentacles around the lure, the fisherman quickly and skillfully catches it. The technique requires patience, sharp eyes to spot the camouflaged octopus, and quick reflexes. Fresh octopus is a prized catch, prepared in various ways: curried with coconut milk and spices, grilled with lime, or dried for preservation. The hunting of octopus in the shallows is often a family activity, children learning from their parents, wading together through warm water, eyes scanning the sandy bottom for movement. Throughout the year, the Maldives celebrates various festivals and special occasions that bring communities together. One of the most important is Eid al-Fitr, marking the end of Ramadan, the month of fasting. After a month of spiritual reflection and daytime fasting, this celebration is joyous and community-centered. People dress in new clothes, attend special morning prayers at the mosque, then spend the day visiting relatives and friends, sharing elaborate meals featuring special dishes prepared only for this occasion, sweet treats, rich curries, and festive drinks. Children receive small gifts and money, running from house to house collecting their Eid treasures. Another significant celebration is National Day on the 1st of Rabiul Awwal in the Islamic calendar, commemorating independence and national identity with parades, traditional performances, and displays of Maldivian culture. These celebrations, whether religious or national, strengthen the bonds between people, creating shared memories and reinforcing the sense that, despite being scattered across many islands, all Maldivians are one people, one nation, united by faith, history, and love for their island home. In the deeper channels between atolls, where ocean currents rush through narrow passages, a particular kind of fishing takes place that requires skill, strength, and courage. These channels, called can-do, become highways for pelagic fish, tuna, wahoo, sailfish, that ride the currents searching for food. Fishermen anchor their donis at the edge of these channels when the current is running strong, sometimes in water hundreds of feet deep, and cast their lines into the rushing water. The current is so powerful it bows the fishing lines, creating tremendous strain. When a large fish strikes, the fight is intense, the fish's natural strength multiplied by the current's force, the fisherman bracing against the boat's railing, line burning through calloused hands, arms aching with effort. Landing a big fish from a can-do requires not just individual skill but teamwork, other fishermen helping to control the line, the boat captain adjusting position, everyone working together. The risk is real, a moment's inattention, a line wrapped around a hand, and a fisherman could be pulled overboard into the rushing current. Yet generation after generation returns to these can-do, because this is where the biggest fish run, where the greatest catches are made, where skill and courage are tested against the ocean's raw power. Think now about the role of the Veshi, the village healer or wise person, who held an important place in traditional Maldivian society. These individuals, often but not always elderly, were believed to possess special knowledge, herbal remedies for illness, prayers for protection, techniques for treating common injuries, and sometimes the ability to communicate with spirits or jinn. When someone fell ill, the Veshi might be consulted before or alongside any other treatment, creating a holistic approach to wellness that addressed spiritual and physical concerns together. They would prepare herbal mixtures, recite specific verses from the Quran, create protective amulets, or perform traditional healing practices passed down through generations. The Veshi also served as counselors, helping resolve disputes, offering wisdom on difficult decisions, maintaining oral histories and traditions. While modern medicine has largely replaced traditional healing, the respect for these wise individuals persists. and some of their knowledge of herbal remedies and holistic wellness has proven valuable even in contemporary healthcare contexts. As your mind drifts deeper into rest, imagine the community Beiru, or communal work parties, that have long been a cornerstone of Maldivian island life. When a major task needed completing, building a new community building, repairing a seawall, clearing debris after a storm, the entire community would gather for a Beiru. This wasn't just about labor, but about solidarity and celebration. Everyone contributed according to their ability. Strong men did heavy lifting, women prepared food, elders offered guidance, children helped with small tasks. The work was punctuated with jokes, songs, and shared meals. At day's end, the task would be complete, accomplished not through individual effort but through collective action. No one received payment. This was what neighbors did for each other, what a community did for itself. The tradition of Beiru represents something essential about small island societies. Survival and prosperity depend on cooperation, on setting aside personal concerns for communal benefit, on understanding that everyone's well-being is interconnected. Though modernization has changed many aspects of island life, the spirit of Beiru, community working together, supporting each other, sharing both burden and joy, remains central to Maldivian identity. Let me share something about Maldivian superstitions and beliefs that have been woven into daily life for generations. Many islanders believe in Fanditha, a form of traditional magic that can be used for both beneficial and harmful purposes. Protective amulets might be worn to ward off evil spirits or the evil eye. Small pouches containing prayers written on paper, herbs, or other protective items. Certain days or times might be considered auspicious or unlucky for beginning new ventures. A fishing trip, a journey, a wedding. Dreams are taken seriously, believed to carry messages or warnings that should be heeded. The ocean itself is full of supernatural associations. Certain currents are believed to be inhabited by spirits. Some sandbanks are considered unlucky or haunted. Mysterious lights seen at sea might be attributed to jinns rather than bioluminescence. These beliefs coexist with Islamic faith and modern education, creating a worldview that acknowledges multiple layers of reality. Most Maldivians wouldn't consider themselves particularly superstitious, yet they might still avoid certain actions on specific days, or wear an amulet their grandmother gave them, just in case, maintaining a connection to traditional wisdom even while embracing contemporary life. The concept of Divhi Ruj, which means island kingdom or Maldive nation, goes beyond mere geography to represent a deep sense of identity and pride. Being Maldivian means belonging to a nation that has maintained its independence and unique culture despite being surrounded by larger powers, despite countless challenges. It means being connected to every other Maldivian, whether they live on your island or one you've never visited, through shared language, faith, history, and the common experience of island life. Divhi Ruj encompasses the pride in traditional crafts, the preservation of the Divhi language, the practice of sustainable fishing, the hospitality shown to visitors, and the commitment to protecting the ocean environment. It's a nationalism that isn't aggressive but rather protective, a determination to preserve what makes these islands special, what makes Maldivian culture unique, in a globalizing world that often homogenizes. When Maldivians speak of Divhi Ruj, they're expressing love for their nation not as an abstract political entity but as home, as family, as the only place in the world quite like this. Feel yourself sinking deeper now, deeper than before. The stories of island life wash over you like warm waves. Community work parties under the tropical sun. Wise healers mixing ancient remedies. Fishermen battling strong currents in deep channels. All of it fades into peaceful distance. You are held by something greater than yourself, the rhythm of generations, the wisdom of island people who learned to thrive where land meets sea. Rest completely now, so peaceful, so safe, drifting into dreams. You're so deeply asleep now, these words barely reaching you. Just a few more gentle whispers about this island paradise before we let you drift away completely. The national animal of the Maldives is the yellowfin tuna, called Carnelian Mars in Divhi. This choice reflects the absolute centrality of this fish to Maldivian life and culture. The yellowfin tuna, with its streamlined silver body and distinctive yellow fins, has sustained these islands for over 1,000 years. It's not just a food source but a symbol of the relationship between Maldivians and the ocean, one of respect, sustainability, and mutual dependence. These powerful fish migrate through Maldivian waters following ancient routes, and Maldivian fishermen have followed them with equal faithfulness, generation after generation. Naming the yellowfin tuna as the national animal acknowledges that the Maldives owes its very existence to the sea, that the nation's identity is inseparable from the creatures that swim beneath the waves. When you see the yellowfin tuna represented on official emblems and documents, you're seeing acknowledgement that this nation's heart beats in rhythm with the ocean, that land and sea, people and fish, are partners in a dance as old as the islands themselves. Traditional boat races, called Donny Cow, have been part of Maldivian culture for centuries, bringing communities together in friendly competition. These races typically occur during significant festivals and celebrations, with each island entering its finest donny, crewed by the strongest rowers or best sailors. The boats are decorated with colorful flags and banners, and crowds gather on beaches to cheer for their island's crew. The races test not just speed but skill, navigating the currents, reading the wind, working together as a perfectly synchronized team. The winning crew brings honor to their entire island, their names remembered for years. Even today, traditional sailing races continue, though motorboat races have also become popular. But there's something special about watching traditional donnies under sail, racing across a turquoise lagoon, the crews shouting encouragement to each other, the crowd on the beach roaring with each surge forward. These races strengthen bonds within communities and between islands, transforming competition into celebration, individual achievement into communal pride. Every Friday, the weekly holiday, many islands host special markets where local people gather to buy and sell fresh produce, fish, and handmade goods. These Friday markets, called Hai Bandara, are more than just commercial transactions. They're social events where the entire community mingles. Fishermen bring their best catch from the week, displayed on tables or in baskets, the fish so fresh they gleam in the morning sun. Women sell vegetables grown in their gardens, eggplant, bitter gourd, chili peppers, whatever thrives in the sandy soil. Others offer prepared foods, packets of short eats, sweet coconut treats, fresh roshi bread. People browse slowly, greeting friends and relatives, discussing prices, inquiring about families, sharing news. Children weave between adults, fascinated by the colors and activity. The market smells of the sea, of spices, of fresh coconut, of community life in all its simple richness. By midday, as the call for Friday prayer echoes across the island, the market disperses, vendors packing up, families heading home with their purchases, the weekly rhythm continuing as it has for generations. Let me tell you about the traditional design of island mosques, which serve as architectural and spiritual centers of every inhabited island. Most mosques are relatively modest structures, built from coral stone with distinctive features that make them immediately recognizable. Many have beautifully carved wooden doors and shutters, the intricate patterns created by master craftsmen using techniques passed through families. Inside, the floors are covered with woven mats or carpets facing Mecca, the direction of prayer. The mihrab, the niche indicating prayer direction, often features exceptional coral stone carving or beautiful calligraphy. What's remarkable is that even the smallest island, with perhaps only a few dozen families, will have a proper mosque maintained with care and pride. The mosque serves not just as a place for the 5 daily prayers, but as a gathering point for the community, a place for religious education, a venue for important announcements, and a center of island identity. The oldest mosques, some dating back centuries, feature remarkable coral stone masonry and carved decorations that showcase the artistic traditions of their eras. These buildings stand as testaments to faith, craftsmanship, and the central role of Islam in creating and maintaining community bonds. There's a traditional practice, particularly on smaller islands, of children being sent to other islands to live with relatives while attending school. This happens when a child's home island lacks educational facilities for higher grades, requiring them to move to an island with better schools. A child might go live with an aunt and uncle or grandparents on an island with a secondary school, staying there during school terms and returning home during holidays. This practice, while emotionally difficult for families, creates extended bonds between relatives and gives children broader experiences. They learn to adapt, to appreciate different islands' customs, to form connections across the atoll. When they return home as young adults, they bring new knowledge and perspectives while maintaining deep roots in their home island. This tradition of sending children away for education demonstrates the Maldivian commitment to learning, the willingness to make sacrifices for the next generation, and the strength of extended family networks. It also means that many Maldivians have emotional connections to multiple islands, thinking of several places as home, their identity tied to more than just one spot in the archipelago. Traditional lullabies, called lullaby, have been sung by Maldivian mothers and grandmothers for countless generations, soothing infants to sleep with gentle melodies and simple lyrics. These lullabies often reference the ocean, the rhythm of waves, the rocking of boats, the gentle sound of water lapping at the shore. They speak of protection and love, asking Allah to watch over the sleeping child, to keep them safe through the night. The melodies are simple and repetitive, perfectly designed to calm restless babies, the mother's voice soft and low, often accompanied by gentle rocking or swaying. Some lullabies incorporate traditional stories in simple form, tales of kind fishermen or beautiful islands, weaving narrative into the soothing sound. These songs pass from generation to generation, grandmothers teaching new mothers the same lullabies they once sang to their own children. In this way, each baby falling asleep in the Maldives is cradled not just by their mother's arms but by generations of love, the same melodies that soothed their ancestors, connecting them to an unbroken chain of care and tenderness stretching back through time. The seasonal arrival of certain fish species has shaped the Maldivian calendar and economy for centuries. The Bodu Mars season, literally big fish season, refers to periods when tuna run in particularly large numbers through certain atolls, typically during specific months determined by currents and water temperature. When word spreads that the Bodu Mars season has begun in a particular area, boats from other islands converge, everyone wanting to take advantage of the abundant catch. It's a time of intensive work but also celebration, because a good Bodu Mars season means economic security for months to come. Fish are caught, processed, dried, smoked, and stored or traded. Similarly, the arrival of certain smaller bait fish signals changes in season and weather patterns, their presence noted carefully by experienced fishermen who use their appearance to predict where the tuna will run next. This deep knowledge of fish behavior and seasonal patterns represents generations of accumulated observation, a living database held in the memories of fishermen, allowing them to work with rather than against natural rhythms, taking abundance when it's offered while maintaining sustainable practices that ensure future abundance. Throughout the islands, you'll find small cemeteries, often shaded by mature trees, where generations of island families rest. These graveyards, called makubara, are tended carefully, a responsibility shared by the community. The graves are simple, raised rectangles of coral stone or concrete, marked with modest headstones bearing the deceased's name and dates. Family members visit regularly, particularly on Fridays, to pray for their departed loved ones, to maintain the grave sites, to ensure they remain neat and respected. There's a peaceful quality to these island cemeteries, the sound of wind in the trees, the distant murmur of the ocean, the sense of generations resting together in the soil of their island home. The dead remain part of the community, not forgotten but remembered, spoken of with affection, their wisdom and stories kept alive through family memory. This continuing connection between the living and the dead reinforces the continuity of island life, the understanding that each generation is a link in an unbroken chain, responsible for honoring those who came before and preparing the way for those who will follow. The cemetery is a place of peace, reflection, and profound connection to place and lineage. And now, as we near the end of our journey through the Maldives, let all these images blend into one peaceful dream. Children sleeping to ancient lullabies, fishermen following seasonal rhythms as old as the islands, communities gathering at Friday markets, graves tended lovingly under rustling palms. All of it part of one beautiful tapestry, island life in all its simplicity and depth. You have traveled with me through 100 facts about this remarkable nation, this garland of islands scattered across endless blue, where land and sea meet in perfect balance, where tradition and modernity dance together like light on water, where every sunset is a gift and every sunrise a promise. You are safe, you are peaceful, you are exactly where you need to be. Thank you for joining me on Sleepy Island Channel. Sweet dreams and good night.